Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews and another special ranking video. Tonight, we will be counting down our picks for the top 10 Clint Eastwood comedy films. Now for this list, not all of the films will be full comedy films, as some on this list are of other genres, but with comedy moments throughout. So let's get started with our number 10, Paint Your Wagon from 1969. Paint Your Wagon is an American Western musical film starring Lee Marvin, Clint Eastwood, and Gene Seberg. The film was adapted by Paddy Chayefsky from the 1951 musical of the same name by Lerner and Loewe. It is set in a mining camp in Gold Rush-era California. It was directed by Joshua Logan. In this film, most of the comedic elements are courtesy of Lee Marvin and not Eastwood himself, hence why it is lower on this list.
Come again at me like a slaver and dog, I'll shoot you as you come.
Ma'am, watch where you point that thing. Right now, you'd like to blow my manhood halfway to the moon.
And if two partners want to share the same wife, why not? This ain't Michigan. It's gold country.
And coming in at our number 9 spot, Two Mules for Sister Sarah from 1970. Two Mules for Sister Sarah is an American-Mexican Western film directed by Don Siegel and starring Shirley MacLaine, billed above Clint Eastwood in the film's credits, but not on the poster. It is set during the French intervention in Mexico, 1861 to 1867. This film feels like a Man with No Name film, but with awkward comedic moments, and that is definitely why it is lower on this list.
The least you can do is take off your hat.
I haven't got time for that.
And at the number 8 spot, we have Honky Tonk Man from 1982. Honky Tonk Man is an American musical Western comedy drama film set in the Great Depression. Clint Eastwood, who produced and directed, stars with his son, Kyle Eastwood. The story of Clint's character, Red Stovall, is loosely based on the life of Jimmie Rodgers, and since it has many more somber moments, as opposed to the few comedic scenes, it placed lower on this list.
I have conceived.
Coming in at number 7, we have Bronco Billy from 1980. Bronco Billy is an American Western comedy drama film starring Clint Eastwood and Sandra Locke. It was directed by Eastwood and written by Dennis Hacken. The film focuses on the financially struggling owner of a traditional Wild West show and his new assistant. And while it has many comedic moments, the film is underscored by a very dramatic tone, hence its place on the list.
Are you finished with your little speech?
Yeah, I'm finished.
I do not work for you, and if you ever raise your voice to me again, I will scratch out your eyes!
And coming in at number 6, we have Thunderbolt and Lightfoot from 1974. Thunderbolt and Lightfoot is an American crime comedy film written and directed by Michael Cimino and starring Clint Eastwood, Jeff Bridges, George Kennedy, and Jeffrey Lewis. The comedic misadventures of the duo of a bank robber posing as a minister, played by Eastwood, and a car thief played by Bridges, is highly enjoyable until it takes a very sad, dark turn near the end, which is why it places where it does on this list.
I feel proud of myself, man. I feel like a hero.
You all right, kid? You don't look too well.
I believe you're right.
Lightfoot. You all right, kid? What's...
Clocking in at number 5, we have City Heat from 1984. City Heat is an American buddy crime comedy film starring Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds, written by Blake Edwards and directed by Richard Benjamin. The pairing of Eastwood and Reynolds in this comedy came about when Eastwood began making several comedy films in the late 70s and early 80s, and Reynolds jokingly told Clint that he's beginning to cut into his territory, which Burt countered by making his own variation on Dirty Harry with Sharky's Machine in 1981. Unfortunately, the pairing of the duo wasn't as big a hit as they expected, as the film earned a disappointing $38.3 million against a $25 million budget. And at the number 4 position, we have Any Which Way You Can from 1980. Any Which Way You Can is an American action comedy film directed by Buddy Van Horn and starring Clint Eastwood, with Sandra Locke, Jeffrey Lewis, William Smith, and Ruth Gordon in supporting roles. The film is the sequel to the 1978 hit comedy Every Which Way But Loose. The cast of the previous film return as Philo Beddoe, again played by Eastwood, reluctantly comes out of retirement from underground bare-knuckle boxing to take on a champion hired by the mafia. A hilarious film that takes the premise of the previous film and moves into a fun new direction. It is an excellent comedy for Clint here. And at number 3, we have Pink Cadillac from 1989. Pink Cadillac is an American action comedy film directed by Buddy Van Horn. The film stars Clint Eastwood and Bernadette Peters and also has small cameo appearances by Jim Carrey and Bryan Adams. Pink Cadillac marks the third and final collaboration between Eastwood and director Buddy Van Horn, following Any Which Way You Can, 1980, and The Deadpool, 1988, as well as Van Horn's final film as a director. Coming in at number 2, we have Every Which Way But Loose from 1978. Every Which Way But Loose is an American action comedy film released by Warner Brothers, starring Clint Eastwood in an uncharacteristic and offbeat comedy role. It was produced by Robert Daly and directed by James Fargo. Eastwood plays Philo Beddoe, a trucker and bare-knuckle brawler roaming the American West in search of a lost love, while accompanied by his brother/manager, Orville, played by character actor Jeffrey Lewis, and his pet orangutan, Clyde. In the process, Philo manages to cross a motley assortment of characters, including a pair of police officers and an entire motorcycle gang who end up pursuing him for revenge. Even funnier than its sequel, it is Clint's greatest comedy of all time, except for one. And that brings us to that very film, as we have at number 1, Space Cowboys from 2000. Space Cowboys is an American adventure drama film directed and produced by Clint Eastwood. It stars Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, and James Garner as 4 aging former test pilots who are sent into space to repair an old Soviet satellite. It was theatrically released on August 15, 2000, received positive reviews from critics, and was a box office success. Now, most might argue that this isn't a comedy, but the way that Eastwood, Jones, Sutherland, and Garner react around the people in charge, especially James Cromwell's character of Bob Gerson, there is no doubt that this is comedy gold, and that is why it makes our list at number 1. So, what did you think of our list? Did you agree with our picks? Did you disagree? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and smash that bell icon to be notified about future videos just like this one. And while you are by the subscribe button, why not click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan? Well, that's the end of another ranking video. If you missed our previous week's video, click the link above. And if you missed any of our other ranking videos, click on this playlist and get caught up on any that you might have missed.